My roommate went to the hospital today, and he had a fall, and I had to bring him to the hospital. I'm not doing well, good. Anyways, I wanted to go over something that occurred to me later while waiting to pick him up. If for some reason society broke down, or I was living in the middle of some weird situation where we didn't have pharmacies and doctors that suck and pill pushers everywhere, let's say society went back to 1880 to 1910. Something where it's more mundane and not everybody has a doctor. And I had a grandpa or relative, and it's the end of the world. They're cutting off the grocery stores, cutting up the pharmacies. And I just wanted to give my grandfather baby aspirin. They don't make it anymore, and every shelf has been picked by the looters. So there is no more baby aspirin being made. And all the chemists and all the rich people were shot and robbed a long time ago. There's just a bunch of us poor homeless people who were preppers and survivors and already living in the woods. Us people who were homeless, we were living in the woods when it happened. We were surviving off of apples and crab apples and handouts and random food. We were already scrapping for food. So scrapping against some rich fuckers that don't know what they're doing, it's pretty easy for us. But we have some old people we want to take care of that need baby aspirin. There's even some heart medications that require salicylic acid or aspirin to be taken with it to make the medication work. Now, why did I just mention salicylic acid? Why did I mention it? Because that's the base for aspirin. First, we discovered willow bark tea. Then we learned we could basically scrape the top of that, of all the salicylic acid, separate it, even through a nice separation funnel. Just a funnel with a little knob to separate the liquids. So I pour the big boil bark. I take a bunch of white willow tree bark roots, take the roots and the bark, grind it up with a nice little cheese grinder, boil that up with a cover over it, keep boiling it for hours and hours, keep adding to it, boil it, and then keep pouring it into a separation funnel, separating the salicylic acid from the tea. Or you can just drink it, but if you're trying to really make a concentrate where you only need 1 or 2 pills worth, you're going to want to extract the salicylic acid. But you could just drink a big glass of willow bark tea, and white willow bark and white willow tree root. You could make a cup of tea of that, and it would have salicylic acid in it, the precursor for aspirin. Bayer aspirin. The Bayer company became rich off of 2 products. 2 main products made one company, Bayer, billion-dollar players. The first product, aspirin, made from salicylic acid, first discovered of white willow bark. But then also one of their big money, everybody loved this one in the pharmacies. You could just buy it over the counter. You didn't even need an ID. You were 10 years old and you wanted to buy this at your pharmacy. Bayer was very happy to sell it. And that second product was called Bayer Heroin. Where have I heard that medication before? Bayer Heroin. And then they made Bayer aspirin and heroin. Yes, they mixed them together. So yes, Bayer made aspirin from salicylic acid. Now that was a big hit. And then they also made one of their other big hits, heroin, what was a morphine-based painkiller, even though morphine came back later. They turned heroin and was able to change the molecule into morphine. Then they just started doing synthetics after that. But before we got into synthetics, when we were abstracting medications from plants, we got aspirin from salicylic acid, and salicylic acid was in the white willow tree roots and bark. And we noticed that Indians and Native Americans and people were taking this for headaches and for pain. And we noticed it helped people with heart conditions. And that's one big thing we noticed was salicylic acid. But as me, what I would do at the end of the world is I would take white willow bark, bay leaf, and ginger with a tiny, tiny pinch of rosemary and lemon balm. I would boil this down into a very thick tea. And this is going to have a high salicylic acid content and a high ginger and bay leaf content. And then I'm probably just going to leave it like that. I'm not going to concentrate the salicylic acid. I will do a separate pot and try to skim off the salicylic acid and add it to my tea, raising it. Now, this can be damaging to the stomach, so there'll be a warning on the dosage depending on the strength. And this is only for people with heart conditions and pain and the end of the world. We don't grow poppies in North America, do we? So you'll either have, and there's no way a chemist can get his hand on chemicals at the end of the world. But I could bet you if I took a hike for a couple days, I could find 101 plants that I could turn into medicine. I mean, I can walk outside and find something right now. Oh, here's one. Let's say you have a cold and a sore throat. I have a tree right 20 feet from me that I spotted the first time I moved to Rochester, New Hampshire. White birch. The white birch bark can be peeled off with a special knife, broke up, and either smoked in the air, where you burn it in the air. It's supposed to clear your sinuses, but I don't think works. That one is maybe hubu. But it does have an alkaloid in it that can help with sore throats. So, yes, it can help numb and soothe the throat. It gives a cooling sensation. So, yes, birch bark, white birch bark can be used for that. Not one of the best, though. There's a million. I mean, even using wild lettuce for sore throats would be more effective, seeing as wild lettuce contains a precursor to morphine that also can be turned into morphine, just like poppies can be. They all contain the same opiate derivative. So, but you need a lot of it. That's why a cup of wild lettuce up here in the north would probably be your best bet for a sore throat. There's even a couple of those up the street. I also got some grape leaves and some grapes, so you can make some nice grape juice for vitamin C. That just grows on the side of the road. Look for wild Concord grapes. Now, you can eat them, but they're pretty gross wild grapes. They're pretty firm and not juicy. But if you smash them, you can make a wonderful juice or a puree with it. Get your vitamin C. And the grape leaves are always good when boiled and wrapped around stuff. So you can easily take the leaves, clean them, boil them up, wrap some meat in the middle. Take some nice meat of some type, a dead squirrel that's been marinated, and I guess ginger, cinnamon, maybe some random clove, some wild garlic, wild onion. I mean, there's a bunch of other wild spices I know I could use, but it's hard to find pepper in the north. North America, I mean, you could find it, but in the north of North America, like New Hampshire, Maine, and Mass, not a lot of good foraging up here. But we do got wild grape leaves, we got meats, we got some stuff. And all the stuff I mentioned, from white willow bark to birch bark to even some of the mushrooms and funguses like wood ear. Like we have wood ear that grows pretty commonly up here, are all very edible and useful in the right way. Just like if you go down to Virginia, you might see tobacco plants growing. Or up here, you might see some wild, edible sumac. Now, edible is a key word. Edible sumac. Poisonous sumac looks very different. Little gray berries, different leaves. While edible sumac, you'll see a bright red, juicy cluster of berries. And this looks more like a floral berry. Looks almost like a flower berry through together. Looks nothing like the poisonous kind. So you don't have to worry about mixing up once when you know the two types. Once when you know what poisonous sumac looks like, and then you know what edible sumac looks like, you can eat the edible and make berries, jams, do whatever you want. So you have that everywhere. That's actually an invasive species, by the way. Very yummy, edible invasive species. So is kudzu vines. Kudzu vines, every part of it's edible. You can make